When the Cintiq Pro 27 was announced a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't wait to get it. Something happened over the last couple of weeks that caused me to tap out. What changed my mind? We'll talk about that in just a second.
I ain't getting out of bed today. Keep waking up from the previous night.
So in order to do this fairly and to guide this video, I highlighted some of the things from the FAQ that came out of their product demo, and we'll just go straight away and jump into it. Will the Cintiq be available without touch? It will not. Which is stupid. I don't know why. I guess to reduce costs maybe, but why would you not want touch? How much does the Cintiq weigh? It's 15.9 pounds. That's actually less than my Pro 24 with that VESA mount bracket on there. But still, you should have a beefy arm so the thing doesn't wobble around. How many inputs does the Cintiq Pro have? Here's where I start to have some problems. They removed the smart card reader and the USB ports on the side, the USB-A ports. So specifically, this is kind of what you're looking at. If you use the USB-C for data, you can't use it for anything else because it's occupied. Same thing with USB-A. If you're using that for data, it's useless. So if you're using the express key remote or you want to, well, you know, there's nowhere to really plug it in. Depending on where the port is, and if you're left or right-handed, you're running a cable along the back of it in case you have to keep it charged. You can use one USB-C for data and video, but remember, you're going to need the power no matter what. This is a massive display at 4K. You're going to need external power. What type of GPU is needed to take full advantage? I'm going to side with Wacom here. This wasn't a factor for me. I have an NVIDIA 1060, which is not a new card. I mean, that's what are they just announced 4th gen really, and my card won't have a problem with this. So as long as your card does DisplayPort 1.4, you can just Google if your display supports that. I don't think that's going to be as big of a problem as people are making it out to be. So I don't think that's a problem. Remember, 120 hertz. Not talking about the gaming. Two different things. The game, I don't care about the frames per second and all that. That does go back to the video card. Does the Cintiq Pro 27 come with a stand? Why not? There's a bunch of words here that basically just said, well, because we didn't give you one. They really say it's for other options and the rest of this stuff, but the reality is, they could have made a cheap stand, aka like XP Pen or Huion. They've even done it themselves when they came out with the Cintiq 16. It probably wouldn't fit this model because it's much larger, but like that would have gone a long way to keep people from complaining that it didn't come with a stand. Can you do portrait mode, blah, blah, blah. Basically what they say is, yeah, you can do it depending on your stand. So it actually does not do it with the Wacom actually branded Pro 27 stand. Can the Cintiq be put in vertical position that's basically flat? And they're saying, yeah, you can do that. Is the Pro Pen 3 compatible with previous generation products? No, the Pro Pen, I don't think that's actually true. My sense is that across the current Cintiq line, there'll be an update of some sort available to make this pen backwards compatible. Can you use the old pens on this new model? Yeah, all of them are going to work down to like the Art Pen. The announcement on tilt, the tilt range seems the same. This is a good observation. So what Wacom said is that tilt is basically better. What this is basically saying is, yeah, it's better because the nib is slightly longer, so you can, I guess, tilt more or something, but functionally it's basically the same. I'm not sure, like, could you have come out with longer nibs for the Pro Pen models? Like, I don't know if that's possible, but that would have been cool. But I guess if that matters to you, I think at some point you're going to be able to use the Pro Pen 3 on your older Cintiqs. Will the Pro Pen 3 have barrel rotation? No, but the Art Pen. Why? Like, why do we have to use a 2000 pressure level pen that's now 2 generations old when we just came out with this Army Swiss knife transformer pen that can do everything else? Like, this just seems short-sighted. They obviously don't have interest in coming out with another art pen, so why not just do it? Like, we've had 8,000 pressure levels forever. Like, just build it into the pen. It just seems silly to me. Does the Cintiq come with express keys? Yeah, it has 8, but really can only use 4. Will the express key remote work with the Pro 27? Yeah, of course it will, but you're going to have to probably use a port on your PC. Remember, it's dongle based, so you're either going to have to charge it beforehand or run a cable if that port happens to be free on your Cintiq. Fan noise, I've seen some reviews, especially overseas, where people are complaining about the fan noise compared to the Pro 24. I never had fan noise. In fact, some of my earlier videos were about the fan noise and they addressed it, and I actually tested the firmware. So I don't have this problem. If it's louder at all, it's louder than my Pro 24. Why does it need a fan? Look, it needs a fan because it's a 4K super display, super, compact, They got heat sinks in there and it gets hot as hell. That's not a good user experience. So it's something they're having a struggle to solve. For cloud stored profiles, can we save multiple profiles? Blah, 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 blah. This is strange. So they took the Wacom Desktop Center and like they made it cloud-based, but it looks like here you can't actually save your custom configurations to the cloud, which is like, what? And that's basically it on the FAQ. Now, when you look at my setup here, I've got the smart card reader that I move between devices. I've got my USB-A ports, which of course, I've fantastically covered with the stupid microphone, but it's plugged into my Express Key remote. So if they start running low, I use one for OBS, like if I'm streaming or anything like that, or recording like now, and I use one for whatever art app I'm in. On the buttons, they removed the eraser. That was one of the questions. I think I skipped it. Even from a branding perspective, I don't get that. Did it influence my purchase decision? Maybe-ish. I'm not sure where this third button is going to sit. When I reviewed the Pro Pen 3D, the third button was very far down the barrel, so it wasn't going to be an issue, with my small fingers. But I'm not sure where that's going to sit. I guess I'd have to review the pen to know for sure, but I'm not sure why you wouldn't include the eraser in addition to the third button. Like, you're removing a feature. Why? All these great things, and I start to talk myself out of it. This pen stand or holder or whatever, I like the idea of the 4 places you can put it. So the left hand right thing is not a problem, but the thing annoys me. The thing's massively in the way. Remember, this is a 27-inch display, so it's very long, and I know you can put it on top. I hear you. I know it's like nitpicking, but for some reason, I think the way the Cintiq Pro 24 did it, with just a little holder, I think was a better option. Is that influencing my decision? No, but in terms of the workflow and usability and the changes they made, this is what we're getting to. So their answer for some of this was these side panels. And the side panel could be put in a number of different configurations. So when I was trying to talk myself into the purchase, I said, well, I could just put my Express Key remote there. But now keep in mind, if you put the tray there, you can't get to the buttons. Like, the buttons are hidden, because they're being blocked. So the usability goes out the window once you attach this, side table. Now you could say, well, I thought you were going to use the Express Key remotes, and that's true, but now all of a sudden the dynamic of the display is different. I know this is kind of like stupid, but instead of this uniform thing where the Express Key remote is magnetically connected to the device, once again like this, now all of a sudden I have this side panel and it's like not ergonomic anymore. I'm off to the side trying to hold the Express Key remote or whatever I would put there. I loved this when I saw the video, that you could take the side panel and ultimately put it on top. But the thing is, if anybody's seen the Cintiq, that guy who makes these, the back of these things are Velcroed all the hell, because the keyboard's going to slip around. So the reality is, unless this was magnetic or something like their own keyboard, this is going to slide around all over the place, especially depending on how you actually tilt the stand. If you move the stand, it's going to fly off. There's no way to actually secure it. This is like fully loaded, and when you look at it at first, it's like, oh man, this is so cool. Until you look at the practicality of it and you realize, man, this freaking thing's going to be a mess. I'm going to be knocking stuff around all over the place. The webcam, cool, but there's no way you'd have a webcam that close to you because it'll be up your nostrils. So unless you put, some kind of arm like what's holding the cell phone, that's not going to work out well. And then on top of it, the way they have this pictured here, you put the arm in there for the cell phone, and that's cool that it would hold it. But then again, I don't think you can get to the Express keys, because here's the hole. If you had this stick or this panel coming out of it, how the hell would you get to the keys? I don't understand it. So a lot of this now, what I'm saying, if I go look back at my setup, and that's what this is really about, right? The color stuff, I think it's cool, and I think if, the Pantone certified, and I know there have been people that are waiting for that. And if you're waiting for that, you're not going to find a better display. On the HDR, kind of weird, it's 400 nits. HDR at minimum is like 600. So, really you wanted it like 1,000. So in terms of HDR content and viewing it, this is still relatively a dim display. Now, conversely, it's actually their brightest display ever. So like, depending on your point of view on that, if you don't actually care about that and stats and specs or whatever, you are still getting the brightest display. For me personally though, that since that doesn't matter to me, it doesn't say, oh, I need to go out and buy this. And that's sort of these use cases that I'm getting to, is to go, what's going to make me go drop $3,500? It's not that I think the 27 is a bad Cintiq. It's just the design choices they made, almost every one of them are sort of different than maybe I would have liked, or maybe that I'm kind of used to. I like the large bezel. If this picture is about the size, roughly, of the Cintiq Pro 27. The Cintiq Pro 27 is actually a tiny bit smaller, but if you remove the bezels, your arms are like on it. Now, that wasn't a problem for me when I reviewed Huion or XP Pen devices and etc., but that put Cintiq in the plus column for me. Now you're slowly removing these things that have put, this particular brand in its own category, like made it almost like luxurious. I think that removing the touch buttons are a good idea in favor of physical buttons. I think that's good. And I've gone on record, I've done video after video on the Express Key remote. It gets a bad rap, and I don't know why. I actually think it's brilliant. The only little thing that was wrong with it is the wheel is a little sensitive and such, but with the touch display, I'm only using that for brush size, and really half the times at Clip Studio, I just click the exact size I want anyway. I've already got this Cintiq with, 30-something, if you count both remotes. Well, let's just count the one. It's, 17 buttons? And I'm going down to 4 usable. So again, you're like, it's impacting the way I work with the thing. It's like another check mark to say, that's not so good. This is sort of my advice. If you're coming from the 27 QHD and older, the life cycle jump in terms of the features is completely different in terms of that. But for now, with the reduction in the bezel, with the reduction in usable buttons, at least for me, that's instant, like, I gotta pass, man. It's just gonna screw up my workflow. And then on top of that, some of the additional things that are supposed to sell it, the color, the panels, the changes with the pen are sort of like neutral for me, which basically has the same drawing experience as the one I have since it's current. Now, the last thing on the 120 hertz. I'm not saying they're overblowing it, okay? And just to be honest, if I got offered to review one tomorrow, okay, I'd run to the post office to pick it up. If I had somebody who had one and they're like, hey, you can borrow it, whatever, I'd race over there to do it. I would be so excited. So in other words, my opinion could obviously change if I used it. But the way Windows is and EMR lag and the way Photoshop and Clip Studio Paint and whatever, it's not an iPad where that it's a apples to apples comparison, like all of a sudden EMR lag is gone. It's functionally part of the technology, just the way that EMR works. It's basically powering itself wirelessly through these coils. That's physical stuff. I think you could make it maybe a little bit better, but if you have a Pro 24 or a Pro 16 or anything, Pro 32, like, was it that bad? And that's the thing. Their products are so good that it's almost made it like where you don't have to get the new model. It's almost like, well, how much better can it get? And that's sort of where I'm at. I hope, at least in terms of this, thinking out loud, with the specific features and stuff like that, and going through that, maybe that was helpful along with my other video for you to make an informed decision. There are other people who've done full reviews on it, but they're not going into this kind of detail. So I hope at minimum, if I don't get to review it, that this augments those reviews to help you make the right decision. But for now, I'm tapping out of this one, and I'll check you guys out in the next one. Here's a link to the actual preview video I did. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.